Obviously a contentious day for Sirianni and this A.J. Brown stuff as usual, not to mention Jair Alexander. He did announce that he is going to step away from the team. We'll get all that insight and more right now for today's Football at 4. As Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast joins us now on the Sports Bash for today's Football at 4. And Moshe, we appreciate it, man, and obviously an interesting day down at the NovaCare Complex today. You know, a team 7-2, number 1 seed, wins over Kansas City, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, the Rams. You would think everything's peachy keen. Sounded like Nick was getting a little snippy today. Did you get that feeling from Nick Sirianni?
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, you would have to be, yeah, of course he was snippy. I texted Adam Kaplan today, and I said this was about as testy of a press conference as I can remember in a long time, maybe if ever, for Nick Sirianni, because Nick generally handles the tough questions pretty well, and and he started off doing that, and he anticipates the tough questions he's going to get, so he tries to answer them the best he can, and then he'll always couch that at the end, right, with, when there's clear disagreement, he'll say, but obviously I'm the head coach, and I understand that all these decisions will reflect on me, and I accept that. But today he certainly got a little testy with the line of questioning. I was waiting for somebody to yell, "Objection, Your Honor," at some point, because it started to feel like it was getting that way.
Well, he did ask at one point, is this a debate? Like, are we supposed to debate what's going on here? It was a lot of it about that 4th and 6 call with I think it was Tim McManus asked a question. He said, well, a couple players seem to indicate that Jalen and AJ kind of went off on their own, and we've seen this happen before in that Seattle game a couple of years ago. Nick followed up with, I knew exactly what the play was, and he said it twice with almost the same verbiage. What almost makes you feel like, that's me covering for my players. You take this how you want.
Yeah, I mean, there's two ways to look at it. There's the covering for the player, and then there's also sort of the plausible answer that's a non-answer, meaning, and I hope fans understand this, like a team, an offense does not go out to the field with just one play call ever, right? There's multiple play calls based on what you're seeing, whether it's man or zone, being on down and distance, and then defenses change, right, pre-snap. So if you see a defense change, you can change the play call to what you already have planned, or you can audible, right? So I believe Nick Sirianni when he says he knew what play was being run once they audibled into it, right? That doesn't mean he agreed with it, though. No, the question is not did you know it, but did you agree with it? Did you want that play run when they checked into it? And that we will never know, and I doubt he would have answered it truthfully anyway. But Mike, to be fair, this happened. I mean, there's in every game, quarterbacks check into different play calls. Some have more autonomy than others. And Nick Sirianni does have a history, and so does Jalen Hurts in the offense, of going for the jugular on 3rd and long and 4th and long in those situations. And I know I heard Nick already reference it in a different interview when they went for it on 4th down on the opening. I think it was the opening drive against Washington last year. Maybe it was the second drive in the NFC Championship game, and then they hit A.J. Brown down the left side for a long touchdown. So I don't think it's as big of a conspiracy or a rogue operation as it might come off because of the timing and the way it went down. But I will say, I'm sure that there's not always 100% agreement whenever quarterbacks do check into different plays with the quarterback and the head coach in that regard.
Well, there was a lot here, too, because I don't know if Sirianni got baited into this one. Well, was it your decision? And he's cut off the question. To go for it on 4th down? Yeah, it was. And then McLean said, no, to throw the pass. So he almost answered something that he, almost didn't have to. But he then said, yes, it's my decision to go for it, which we all figure anyway. But he's also suggesting it's my decision to throw the pass. The other part of it is, hey, you were on the sideline saying, why? And that's where he's like, well, if I have to answer every time I say something on the sideline, well, yeah. It's not like someone took an edited video and threw it into the live shot there.
Right. He clearly did not want to have to answer why his reaction to the play call didn't match their reaction to, or their want to exercise that play call. But Mike, my favorite internet or social media expression is when someone says, don't let this or that distract you from this or that, right? That's a big Twitter or Facebook thing. And I will say, don't let this agreement/disagreement on the play call distract you from the fact that Nick Sirianni had the opportunity to kick a field goal or punt there. And he is the one that put the offense on the field.
Well,
so
he did. He admitted that. He did say it was my decision to go for it. Now, that being said,
correct.
The right play is kicking the field goal. I do agree with not kicking the field goal there because
I can see the argument to that. Yeah.
If you miss the field goal, you're giving them more yardage as opposed to punting and taking away more yards from them.
Sure. I mean, I think that there's an argument for why you should go for it on fourth down there. Also, but and then I feel like they tried to marry. Well, Nick tried to marry the concept then of the questions about going situation when he didn't get the ball since the first quarter, which is to me, that's just a different question altogether. The question is, why are you not getting A.J. Brown more involved?
Well, that was a question from Jeff McClain. I guess the greater issue is why in the first 59 minutes of the game is J.J. Brown never targeted. Sirianni says, are we in a debate? McClain says, I think that's a fair question. That is a fair question. Why are you not targeting A.J. Brown but 3 times?
I don't think that there was a single question asked to Nick Sirianni today that was unfair. I really don't. I know there's always going to be that, I don't know how large the faction of the fan base is that, these media guys are looking for drama or we're winning. I mean, these are questions that we're getting from fans all the time to us, okay? So when the reporters ask it, you can't all of a sudden act like Mr. Tough Guy on the keyboard and say the media and sports writers in this town are just agenda-driven and all that crap that I see. Okay, these are absolutely fair questions. Do you know how much money is invested in this offense? Okay, like let's not wait for the Eagles to lose 3 games to then, in retrospect, say, "Oh, well, now the questions are fair." No, there's a lot of money invested in this offense to at least function at a better level, right, than you've seen both in the running game and in the passing game consistently throughout the year. I know that the Eagles have won ugly for over a year now, okay? I know that. And I'm not saying the offense needs to score 35 points a game or it has to look 1,000 times better. But there is clearly a difference in how this offense looks this year from a run game and a pass game perspective than it has when it's at its best.
What is your take on then? Like they're obviously very risk adverse. And
yes.
We had an interesting conversation about this earlier do we overvalue the talent on this team?
Do we overvalue the talent? So that's a good question. No, I don't think so. Yeah, it's a fair question. What is this, a debate, Mike?
I do want to, real quick. So he gets asked the question. He says, what is this, a debate? And then McClain says, I think it's a fair question. And then Sirianni says, okay, what's the question?
It's almost like I don't think he actually listened to Jeff's question. I think he thought Jeff was following up with another fourth down play call question when Jeff was actually moving on to, well, then why doesn't A.J. Brown get the ball earlier?
Right.
Question. And then he heard the question and was like, oh, well, anyway. But moving on, like, I don't think it would have been impossible to predict going into the year that the offensive line was not going to be at the level it was last year. There is some advanced analytics that show. We did a show, we do Inside the Data on Inside the Birds with Sam Finkel. He's really good with analytics. And we had done a chart after week 4 showing A.J. Brown's separation yards per target. And each year since 2022, they have gone down. Now, he's never been a huge separator to begin with. He's not a guy based on speed. I mean, he's contested catch, physical, strong receiver. But he had dropped from about 2.7 to 1.7 through the first 4 weeks, which probably hasn't gotten any better since then, which is a full yard of separation per target drop, which is pretty significant. Now, I always say this data needs context. I mean, when the routes you're running can influence whether you're getting separation or not as well. But even with context, I think when you're a full yard of separation down from your best days, that there's probably something to that. And I think it's fair to question, is he still an elite receiver? I mean, right now, Devontae Smith is the guy who gets the ball in high leverage situations. So, you factor in the offensive line, you factor in the A.J. Brown, and, again, is Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is a specific kind of quarterback who flourishes in several areas of the game, but also doesn't in other areas of the game, using the entire field, every blade of grass. So you put it all together.
Well,
right?
and that's why I asked the question of do we overvalue the talent? Because the coaches are obviously saying, we don't have the talent to be this high-flying offense.
But they've never been a high-flying offense since 2022.
Because there's a constant player on the team. They have 5-6 different offensive coordinators. You think all of them have a lousy passing game?
That's my point when everybody wants to back the bus over Kevin Patullo. I did an interview today with someone who clearly, feels like Patullo is doing a terrible job. And I say, what do you think the difference between Kellen Moore's offense and Brian Johnson's offense was? What do you think is the biggest difference? You answer that, Mike. What's the biggest difference? Yeah, what do you think?
The difference between they ran the ball with high level of success.
Exactly. Brian Johnson did not have Saquon Barkley.
The Shane Steichen offense was a little better in the passing game, but wasn't great.
It was much better. It was better. You're right.
Yeah,
but then they was in an era of RPOs, and they cracked down on the illegal man downfield, and now you're seeing a lot more different coverages on the back end to disguise what you're doing. I mean, even Shane Steichen himself isn't running that kind of offense as much as he did in 2022.
Right. And the big thing, even back then, though, the passing game wasn't this wow, look at this thing. They ran the ball with that team. They had Miles Sanders, it was like a 1,200-yard back and it was fantastic that year. That RPO was as good as it's ever, as you said, they kind of went away after that. They never quite ran it near that. But any passing attack post at any point, they just haven't had a good passing attack. In the A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith era, they've never had a passing attack where it's look at this, man, Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and Jamar Chase. And those teams are throwing it all over the yard. The Eagles have never had that level of passing game.
No, and that's never been that way. And they've won games, so the money that they're paying for all these guys, including A.J. Brown and now Saquon Barkley, right, to not perform to their normal statistics has been okay because they've been able to cover it up, and they're still doing it. But I do feel like even at 7-2, you're looking for like last year they were sporadic at times, but it did seem like the pass offense got a little better as there was more comfort as the season went on. The Steelers game really good, and then into the playoffs it got obviously hot against the Commanders and against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But they also had the number one defense that helped out. I think it's fair to wonder, can they continue to win this way? I mean, the offense is regressing. After this great running game against the Giants, it was not good against a very good Packers defense. And so they got to find some answers.
Yeah.
But I say this tongue in cheek, right? In 20 years, honestly, I say this tongue in cheek. I'm not trying to make people mad, but in 20 years, I'm going to write the look back book on how the Eagles took the league by storm and won a Super Bowl, went to 2, maybe more, because they were cheating and didn't even realize it. Because when they were running RPOs in 2022, they had illegal men downfield all the time. And then the NFL cracked down on it. And then, of course, the tush push is going to get banned. And we're going to look back on all the false starts and all the neutral zone and all the times that they had a guy moving when they shouldn't have been. And I'll write this great book. This is like 20 years from now when the Eagles are bad and fans wouldn't be mad at me. And I'll make this point. The only reason they ever won is because they cheated. Unknowingly, by the way.
Yeah, unknowingly. Geoff Mosher, a couple more real quick before we rock out of here. Jair Alexander abruptly leaves the team, seemingly is retiring, stepping away from football. I guess just kind of what happens with the trade? They just lose the pick? That's not voided?
I imagine so. I mean, I don't know how he is good at what he does. So it wouldn't surprise me if maybe he had to call up the Ravens and be like, yo, I told the whole public you were honest with me. We had great, honest conversations about Jair Alexander, and then the guy retires after a week. I mean, listen, the Ravens don't have to do anything about it. But what did they give up? They gave up like a 6th-round pick and got back a 7th-round pick.
Yeah, there was a pick
so
swap.
It's not
there.
even. Yeah, it's a pick. We're talking about slots, right? Not even a full. I gave up something up. They literally just traded spots in the last rounds of the draft. It's not a big deal.
Jacorian Bennett activated. He did mention him by name today, and that Bennett is a guy that they liked. It'll be interesting to see. He did say that I thought that he mentioned Ringo played well. The one game Adoree played last game. That's going to be kind of fluid here, I guess, moving forward. But I will say this: this game to me feels very much like the San Francisco game from a couple of years ago. Right? You've beaten everybody, and everybody's like, you're beating everybody, but you're just somehow finding ways to win. And that San Francisco team, they felt they were better than you, and they came in here and they Rochambeau'd you, and the season fell apart. The Lions feel very similar, that they could have beat you last year, and they have a chance on national TV to show everybody. Everyone keeps talking about them, and you should be talking about us.
Yeah, that's a good compare, and especially from the year before, the way the Eagles handled the 49ers, and the 49ers, lost their quarterback in the game on the first play. The Lions probably feel like they never had the chance because of all those injuries to go toe-to-toe with the Eagles and losing to the Commanders in the divisional round. And you're right, they probably feel like they have something to prove against that team. Dan Campbell took over play calling. You saw a little bit of a difference in how they were able to get Jamison Williams more involved, yards after catch, and how they were get Jahmyr Gibbs in the passing game involved. Now, it came against the Commanders' defense, so you can't put too much into it. But they're a very good team.
Yeah.
They do have some injuries on defense, but right now it's like the Eagles have a tough time hitting a team where it hurts in the secondary because they're not throwing the ball particularly well.
Well, and I would say this. People are like, well, 2023, that team's defense stunk. And I do agree that this defense is better. But my point is you can't assume your defense is going to hold Detroit, Dallas, Chicago, all to 7 points. You're going to have to score. You're going to have to be able to get this offense going, and 10 points isn't good enough. I get it. Green Bay's got a pretty solid defense, but you got to score more than 10 points.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I kind of felt like they were going to split these games, so they beat Green Bay, and now the pressure, they got, it's a big game because Seattle and LA are going at it. It's one of those teams is going to have 8 wins and be up there too. And they're both hot. And it just feels like those teams, and I get it. We're going to keep coming back to the Eagles never look like the hot team until they have to be. But right now, the Rams, the Seahawks are on fire. Right.
And they look good in doing it. But hey, guess what? Maybe they're hitting their stride now and you haven't hit your stride yet. You better hope
that's what you have to hope. That's what you got to hope.
A.J. Brown, quote, drop me if you have me on fantasy.
Did he just say that, really?
Oh, you didn't hear him on the Twitch stream?
No, I heard everything else. I just didn't hear that one.
That was part of it at the end. If you got me on fantasy, drop me.
Well, he's not wrong.
Hey.
I was fortunate enough to draft Devontae Smith this year. So
there you go.
He's doing well.
All right, Geoff Mosher, Football at 4. Check out the Inside the Birds podcast. Read him over at phillyvoice.com. And Football at 4, always here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Thanks, Jeff.
You got it.